Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hollywood Dish. I'm Rebecca North, and joining me
And
will be my co host.
I'm Nicole.
And Hollywood Dish is the show where we dish all things Hollywood. That sounded funnier in my head, but to give you all the lay of the land, we're going to have our own little cold open segment where we'll start the show and we'll kind of discuss more political things happening in the world and the country today. And then we'll dive deep into our pop culture topics where we've picked out the three most important stories of the week to help you prepare for this weekend's SNL episode. And if we have some time at the end, we'll rapid fire other things going on in the world. And as always, if there's anything you want us to talk about, feel free to reach out to us on any socials or write in the chat here. And thank you for joining us today. So, Nicole, how are you doing? What's your weekly update?
I'm good. So we're here on a Thursday. So we're doing our weekly update or mid to late week updates. We're close to Friday, so it feels like a happy, positive time to give these updates. I'm good. I've been really reeling from a lot of season finales of some different shows, and we're gonna get into that a little bit later. But I feel like my personal life update is very much tied to my pop culture viewing update. So I feel like I'm in the right place then, because I not much personal updates. A lot of Omicron happening in New York where I am. So a lot of my friends have tested positive, and yeah, I'm not as social as I would like to be. But of course, everyone is doing their best to stay safe and do what they have to do while also trying to balance, integrating into the world that we're this kind of shaky, weird territory that we're in with the pandemic and all that. So we're doing our best. I'm lucky I haven't tested positive, but it's been tough on a lot of people where I am in the city. So I hope that we can all kind of keep going and get through it all together. So that's where I am. How about you? What's your week been?
Yeah, everything's going fine over here. I mean, I'm in Seattle right now, so things are a little more chill than all the COVID stuff happening in New York, which I was home a month ago to see it all firsthand. And it's definitely pretty scary, but nothing crazy. I'm wrapping up my last week of work before vacation. So I'm celebrating by drinking some wine out of a mason jar today because it's 5 o'clock somewhere here. So
Yeah.
going to Arizona this weekend with my family, and yeah, nothing crazy. Just been chilling here and excited for the holiday time and breaks from work. So it's exciting and really happy to be back here for Hollywood Dish. This is our second episode ever for people tuning in now. So if there's anything that you want to see, and we said this so much last week and we'll probably refrain from saying it again this week, but just getting it out there that if there's anything you want us to do, to see, for us to talk about, let us know. We're still trying to nail down the entire layout of here. So as I said earlier, kind of outlined it a little. So we'll dive deeper into the topics, but really exciting. And last week, a lot of what we discussed was actually mentioned in the Billie Eilish episode of SNL. So that was really cool to see. So just excited.
Yes. Yes, it was pretty cool to see. I'd say our political predictions were a bit more accurate than our pop culture ones. I feel like that isn't shocking, given it was there had been a break. We were returning from a brief hiatus from SNL, so they kind of had to be pretty heavy on the political stuff. And I'm hoping this week we're a little bit more accurate, because there is just not as much political stuff. There's also not as much pop culture stuff, which is why we're going to be really able to dive deep into the specific things that we want to get into. Because I think last week there was so much that we wanted to say, and there still is. But now the things we want to talk about, we're going to get pretty knee deep. So stick around and bear with
Yeah.
us.
And we're going to start off, as I said before, with the cold open to kind of get those more serious portions just out of the way. And then we will dive into more fun topics.
Exactly. All right. So we're going to start with, we're talking Omicron. That sort of eclipsed all the other political science, all that kind of stuff. New York City, especially if anyone else is nearby here, it has taken over. It's all of a sudden, I think that COVID cases have doubled in the last 3 days. It's Thursday the 16th right now, so this week has just been nuts, and it's disappointing to see. But of course, Omicron is I think going to be a buzzword on SNL for a few more weeks at least. So some interesting stuff happening with that. Google is firing any unvaccinated employees. They sent out a memo detailing that rollout to stay tuned for that, and that's going to happen. So we're getting to this juncture in the world where something's got to give, and with the vaccine, with this new variant of Omicron, nobody really know, we don't know what to do. No, it's so unprecedented, obviously, but I think that Google taking this initiative, other companies will follow. And I know people, this is awful, but I know someone with a fake vaccine card, and I've been kind of sitting around waiting for that person for their luck to run out. And it's not a great look, and I think that that's not gonna kind of be feasible for them for kind of going forward as these mandates become a little more legit.
Yeah, I'm honestly happy to hear about this workplace vaccine. Not even workplace. The way Google's kind of set up right now is that like you can be in the office, you could be remote, but you could also kind of make anywhere your hub and make that into your office. So I think that's why they're really cracking down on, even if you are remote, you have to be vaccinated. So I know they sent out a warning to employees who aren't vaccinated right now and was like, you have X amount of days before we start docking your pay and then inevitably fire you. And as someone who works in the tech industry myself, I mean, I think a lot of companies will follow in this suit, and I'm not upset about it as someone who is vaccinated and had COVID, even with the vaccines, and had a pretty bad case of it myself. I would feel comfortable going into work and into the office more if I was aware that everyone was vaccinated already. So I think that this will hopefully, having such a big giant company like Google, set the precedent for the workplace. So really interesting to see how this will play out and which companies will follow suit.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I know, Nicole, you mentioned like the tremendous amount of cases, especially in the New York area. And for some background, Nicole and I both went to Cornell, which is making headlines wherever you look today for having 900 plus cases within a week. So what Cornell did is they shut down the entire campus, all its final season. So everyone will be taking remote finals. And even just talking to some people that I know that are still on campus, it's super scary. And like, it's honestly mayhem. And even if you don't have COVID, you are still quarantined in a hotel or in your dorm because everyone else you know has it. And obviously, Cornell is a moderately big school, so 900 cases retrospectively doesn't seem like that much. But in 1 week, having such a spike of cases where they had to immediately shut down the campus is just crazy. And it feels like we're in March 2020 again, when Nicole and I were last in school, and it was just wild. We're going home. Everyone was panicking.
Oh my God, you're right. That was literally the last time we were both up there. Oh my gosh. It's nuts. Yeah, and Cornell, if you went to college and also upstate New York, anywhere cold, you know that a college campus in a cold environment in the winter is depressing and dark enough.
Yeah.
So with a pandemic that has really been nonstop for a long time, now for it to be in final season in December, to be looming again and having such a huge impact. And I mean, the number of cases, it is a big school, but any school, that's a lot of cases. And so I feel awful. My heart goes out to everyone who's there and is already like that seasonal affective stuff with the lack of sun. It's just like we both know from firsthand experience, it's not always so happy up there when it's dark and cold. So I hope everybody can just keep on keeping on, and hopefully it'll get better soon. It's better that it's happening now than October, mid semester. Like at least now people this sounds awful, but people are already depressed, it's like everybody's kind of not sick and sad and has a cold. So it's like at least at this point, it's like you'd only have a few weeks of it left, and then hopefully everyone who can go home can go home. But there's a lot of international students that can't go home over a break. So it's another really unfortunate situation. And I hope that our alma mater, can deal with this and make sure everyone's safe and feeling all right.
Yeah, and this is the last we'll talk about COVID for the rest of the episode to keep things more upbeat.
Yes.
But just for everyone listening, get the vax, stay home, wear a mask, do everything. Yes. We are back. I mean, now we've made a lot of science and technological advancements in terms of coronavirus, but the death rate is still at I think it's 1.1% of every person that has COVID. Don't quote me on that, but my physical therapist told me that an hour ago. Everyone that has COVID, that's the death rate, and that's super scary. So, I mean, it's not over yet. So just keep being safe. And I mean, hopefully these numbers decrease with everyone going home and then get it out of their system and go back to these college campuses and all of that. So, yeah,
Yep.
it's rough.
All right.
But
Yes. So we wanted to get that out of the way. Make sure check in and in terms of SNL, Omicron is going to be a buzzword for this week. But now we have some stories that we are a little bit more exciting news. Also, some darkness looming this week in pop culture, which is a bummer, but it's really important to talk about. So we're going to get into it. This is a pretty exciting news. So Kim Kardashian is our first story. So a few things about Kim this week. She passed the baby bar. So the baby bar exam, and she's well on her way to becoming a lawyer. This was her fourth try. So her third try, as she pointed out, she did have COVID. So I think maybe she would have passed then if she weren't not feeling so great. But she passed the baby bar. That's basically, for people who don't know, and I had to educate myself on this too, because this is not something I'd ever heard of until Kim Kardashian. So yeah, so I just researched all this myself too. So the baby bar basically is intended for people who take an unconventional path towards becoming a lawyer. So if you don't go through the traditional law school trajectory, it's common, I guess, for A-list celebrities. It's really great for them, but also if you work, if you can't take years off to go to law school and you have to kind of do it more on your own time. So that's what she did, and so now she is eligible to keep on going, take the LSAT, keep going on her way without that traditional law degree, and follow her dream of becoming a lawyer. And it's pretty exciting. It's another thing about Kim Kardashian. Say what you will about her, but she is educating the public on this unconventional path towards becoming a lawyer that could be really feasible for a lot of people in different situations. It's not just for the rich and famous. It's also a really great option for people who can't afford law school or who can't take all that time off. So I think it's actually, I'm happy for Kim, and I'm even happier for the people that she's educating and spreading awareness about this option for people who want to be lawyers.
yeah, I mean, if anyone was keeping up the Kardashians while they were still on TV, the first time that she took the test and did not pass, they had a huge party when she was completed. So I always thought, like, oh, she passed the baby bar, she's good. Like, she's going to just start practicing law. And I've always had my own questions be like, how? Like, can I wake up tomorrow and just study for the baby bar and take it and be a lawyer? And as it turns out, no. So when I saw she pass it, I was like, this is awesome. She's a lawyer. This is so exciting. But I think it just takes a few of those traditional steps out of the picture, and she still has a lot to do, which in turn makes it more impressive. I personally, while I was super happy for her, I did kind of think that this was an easy way out in my aspect. She had to study for a small version of the bar and then was like a lawyer. So I'm glad to know that just because she's a celebrity, she will have to take proper steps as everyone else to complete this. Well, sure, she had top-notch tutors and all of that help her. Right. She's done so much good for the world with her massive platform, and she's done a lot of social justice and criminal reform and just made a lot of different cases and people's situations like well known on her platform to people who probably would not be super interested in the law. And it's a really cool thing that she's doing. So I'm happy for her that she passed the baby bar, and I'm excited to see what she does when she becomes an actual lawyer.
Same here. And I think I actually misspoke. I don't think she has to take the LSAT, but I think that she will have to follow some steps. This is basically equivalent to completing her first year of law school. So then this is the first step. And as she's reminded all of us of several times, as she should, this acceptance or this pass rate for the baby bar is way lower than a lot of other things. So Kim is unapologetic about reminding everyone that it's a really huge accomplishment. And I think that good for her for owning that and being like, yeah, this is hard. This was not handed to me. I'm sure, again, as you said, Rebecca, first, she'll be the first to acknowledge she had a lot of privileges and resources that other people wouldn't have. But at the end of the day, she had to be the one memorizing those cards and studying and applying that knowledge. And posting her study guide and her cards on her Instagram story and whatever. She made it a whole thing, but at the end of the day, she had to do the work that everyone else has to do. So I'm proud of Kim. I'm excited for her.
Me too. And it's awesome that she's broadcasting her failures, because it makes people, a lot of the time when you only hear about positives, like even just in my day-to-day life, I see people, passing the bar and getting into law school. And she's sharing all of her fails with us, which I think is awesome to kind of give people like, you're not alone. This is not easy stuff. And like, I'm working so hard to get to where I want to be. And also, just in other Kim news of her bettering herself in that aspect, is Kim officially legally files for separation from Kanye West, which has been so much back and forth. And I'm sure everyone knows that they separated from one another, but there has been a lot of just news about Kanye saying at his concerts and performances that he will do anything to get Kim back and keep his family together. And then there's been rumors of Kim and our favorite from SNL, Pete Davidson, dating, which is also so wild. And then there has been so much back and forth around this. Then, like, after Kanye was saying that he wanted to try and make it work, then there were rumors that Kim and Pete broke it off and she was going to try and make her family work. But with all of the gossip we're hearing around, and I know Nicole and I, for backgrounders, like super pop culture nerds, so we have been following this back and forth as most Kardashian drama, being like, what is true, what is not. But she is legally filed for separation from Kanye West. So I think this will be a step into just a new life and a new era of Kim Kardashian, where even if she's not dating Pete Davidson, we could see her going out and having fun and dating and kind of doing the whole thing that Kourtney just did with balancing her kids and her family when dating new people. And hopefully she broadcasts this and takes us on this journey along with her. So that'll be really exciting to see.
It will be. And I mean, Kim, like, she and the Kardashians in general, they are redefining the family, the nuclear family, the extended family. And I think with all these different relationships that they've had, a constant is, I think that just because a marriage doesn't work out, a relationship doesn't work out, just because you have kids with someone and then your romantic partnership with that person doesn't work out. I think the Kardashians have set a really cool example about just valuing family in all these different forms. And so many of us are looking for these Easter eggs. Oh, Kim and Kanye were spotted here or there. And it's like, we're going to keep doing that. But also, they're always going to be family. She thanked him at the People's Choice Awards when she was awarded the fashion icon of the year. And she said, which I thought was really cool, she said, this was last week, she said, something along the lines of, I wouldn't be here if not for Kanye. I wouldn't even be into fashion. He really opened this door for me and introduced me to people. And she said people only took my calls because of Kanye. And she only was invited to the Met Gala because of Kanye at first. And now she's a staple at the Met Gala. And so I really think it's as much as we want to say this was all Kim and Kanye didn't lift her up, I think the reality is Kim and Kanye's relationship was really something that was beautiful and did a lot of good for Kim. And I think I just love that she's grateful for that. And she's also saying, this isn't serving me anymore. I need to be legally single. I have so much gratitude for Kanye and I respect him and he's given me the world. He's given me 4 kids. Like she loves her kids, obviously. And so it's cool. It's cool. I think that they are just redefining a lot of things about society. And I do think that they're what they're doing with family, the family structure is mature, and it's some things that they popularize are not so ideal. But I think when it comes to family, the reason they're successful, the root of why this has stuck and why we are invested and why the show worked and all that stuff, it's because it was family over everything. And that resonated with people. And so I think, yeah, the core of the Kardashians, it's not fashion, it's not being provocative, it's not a sex tape, it's family. So this is for me, like, I'm gonna really rewire my brain to stop looking for Easter eggs when Kim and Kanye are together, and I'll just say this is great. They're family forever. They always will be.
Yeah, I mean, don't look down upon that sex tape. Without it, we would never even have them.
Oh
But
yeah. Oh,
I think that she'll follow in her sister's footsteps of being just like co-parenting queens. And we're kind of actually now, if you want to see, now that their kids are getting older, we're kind of going into a new era of Kardashians where like we're getting a deeper look into their life without them even having a show on TV right now. And we know that they'll have one on Hulu, but TikTok has been a huge platform for Northwest and Penelope Disick, and we're getting more casual interactions with the Kardashians. Like North got in trouble for going on live the other day and going into her mom's room, and she knows she's not supposed to be on it, but she's like a little devil, and she's like giggling going into her mom's bedroom, and she's like, haha, mom, I'm on live. And Kim's like, you're not supposed to be on live. And it's just kind of crazy to see them grow up and have their own social media presence and personalities. And yeah, it's so entertaining.
Yes. It's amazing. And yeah, it's a new era. I'm honestly more interested in Penelope and North's whereabouts than anybody else, that now that they're on TikTok and they're showing this. It's kind of like the best insider look that we could even ask for from the Kardashians. We're seeing like table settings and cool lighting at these parties. We're getting these really specific shots from these videographers, Penelope and North. Like, we're getting these really cool things from them, and it's like we should be grateful.
Chris
We're
better be
blessed with
paying
that.
them.
Oh yeah,
Producer
this better.
credits.
Yeah, producer credits on that for even the Hulu show. I want to see that. Yeah,
For
it's great.
sure.
And like Mason, like another part of the story of the Kardashian news of the week is Mason reached out to Kim. Mason is one of Courtney and Scott's kids, their oldest. And he was like, hey, you touched on this, Rebecca, but he was like, hey, maybe you shouldn't let North do this. I'm just looking out for her. I love her. Let me know if you like, he was like, let me know if you want like my advice or something like that. On like it was just like so bizarre, but also so adorable. And he was like, I learned my lesson. I don't, maybe I shouldn't be on live saying things I shouldn't say. And then Kim posted their text conversation, and it was a really cute inside look at the Kardashians. And I think stuff like that is where we're headed with them, in terms of, there's going to be the Hulu show, but I think that we're pivoting away from the show being the most valuable like inside specific look at them, and it's just these little nuggets of social media content. It's like that Kim and Mason text exchange is just like it's just instantly iconic, and it gives us such a cool look into them. And I know Monette in the chat is saying there are rumors that Kim will be at the Christmas episode this week. So we're gonna just stay tuned for that. Plans change, things go up and down, but I mean, she might cameo. She's getting to she's almost friend of the show. Like she's getting there. I mean,
That's the exact thing I was gonna say.
When you're dating someone on the cast and you've hosted, and I mean, I'd say dating a cast member, being a host, and making a cameo. If she makes a cameo this week, then for those three ingredients, I'd say I give her a friend of the show. I know those parameters are iffy, and we could all debate that, but I'd say those three things. If she cameos, she's friend of the show. What do you think?
Yeah, and the amount of times Nicole says iconic, it's iconic. So
John said in the chat.
Yeah.
He said,
I
for anyone
definitely
who's
think
on
that.
Spotify or just audio, I just want to point out that John said drink every time Nicole says iconic. And yeah, I can't help it. It's iconic. Everything.
Yeah, and it's just like, obviously the Kardashians are always so relevant, and I think her being a friend of the show also just will help make them more mainstream and just more in our lives. And I know we spoke about them last week and this week, and I'm hoping each week our pop culture news does not only revolve around the Kardashians, but we both have really big we love them, so they're super relevant always, especially with the Pete Davidson of it all, which is so unexpected. So yeah, I do hope that she's in the Christmas episode, because that would just be incredible. Like, I would be so happy with that. So moving on from Kardashian, and that's our last Kardashian bit of news of the day, unless something comes up. But for now, that'll be the end of it. And this next story we want to mention, and I already saw in the chat that Monette was saying, I wonder if that Mr. Big sketch rumor was accurate. And Mr. Big and Sex in the City has been one of the most popular topics in the news this week and last. And we got breaking news this morning that kind of added to our already long list of notes for Sex and the City, but we wanted to make sure we address this first just to kind of get this out there. And I think this is what Nicole was hinting at, where not everything's going to be overwhelmingly positive in today's news, but there have been two women reached out to the Hollywood. Sorry, I'm reading off my iPad because I don't want to get this wrong. Reached out to the Hollywood Report publication earlier this year that said that Christopher Noth sexually assaulted them. So two separate women at different times. And it was sparked by all of the Sex and the City reboots. So And Just Like That TV show, that they came out and said that they've experienced sexual abuse and sexual misconduct by Chris Noth, who plays Mr. Big in the show. And Noth denied both allegations and claimed that the encounters were consensual. But this has just like kind of rattled our world. I know Nicole and I have been talking about it all day, and everywhere you go online, we are just hearing about this. And this is absolutely horrible. And I know both of our hearts go out to these two women, and I'm glad that they spoke up. But it's really crazy that all of this is happening right now. And although he denied both of the accusations, it's all over the place. And we do have a lot of other Sex and the City news, and we do not want to make light of the situation. And we wanted to make sure we addressed it now. And as more comes out about this, we will continue to update on this platform. But this literally broke this morning. So this is really all we have of it. We don't know any details, but it's super upsetting. And my heart goes out to the women, and we are going to continue to talk about And Just Like That, the Sex and the City reboot, but it's not in light of the situation. So just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's messy. I mean, we have kind of decided we're gonna talk about the reboot And Just Like That. And I think the consensus in culture and in everybody that's kind of engaging online is we're gonna spoil what happened in the first episode. And it's not even a spoiler at this point because it's just we're just going to talk in terms of knowing everybody knows what happened. But basically, Mr. Big, Chris Noth's character, was killed off at the end of the first episode of the reboot, which we know has been in motion for a while. He was rumored to be intended to be killed off in the third movie that didn't end up happening a while ago, a few years ago. So this has been in the works for quite some time, and then they got this reboot and they made it happen. But yeah, it's an awful story, and the reporting is really excellent. There have been so many, with the Me Too movement and everything, and this sort of public reckoning in society of not allowing certain behaviors in Hollywood and other industries to continue. There have been a lot of different approaches to these kinds of stories and how to be a thoughtful, intentional journalist covering these things. And I thought that the Hollywood Reporter piece was really great, and the details were heartbreaking, but also just very objectively convincing. And Chris Noth is not in a good spot. I mean, the one that like broke my heart the most was one of the accounts that happened years ago. The victim was confirmed by the director at the UCLA rape center. Excuse me, there might be one more word in their name, but essentially the rape support center. It was confirmed that she checked in there and visited and sought support and help at that time when the event happened. So I mean, like that type of reporting, it's like I don't know what Chris Noth is going to do. And I don't even know what should happen from this. It's just inexcusable behavior, and you have to wonder if maybe that Sex and the City kind of knew that if they were ever going to reboot, that they wanted to get rid of him, and maybe they knew this was coming. It would have been great if they did something about it and didn't invite him back, if assuming they knew, and I'm not sure, but it would have been great if they didn't have him back and he just died. That would have been great. We didn't need to see it happen. Now in retrospect, I would have been great if in the first episode it's just like assumed we if somebody mentions that he died and we're all like, all right, that would have been fine.
Yeah, I agree. Right? I'm gonna be happy to not see him on my screen now. I mean,
yeah. Now I'm like,
yeah, honestly, I've never been a fan of the character Mr. Big in the show. So I
Toxic.
was already kind of happy to hear of his passing last week before this news broke either way. But it's really upsetting. And he was getting, and I know Nicole's going to get into it, he was getting a lot of positive press this past
A
week. And
lot.
from everything that's happened, his name has just been in the news so much that I learned that his last name is not North. And I thought it was. And I thought it was so cool. Like, we had the same last name. But yeah, I'm
Good for
kind of
you,
happy
Noth.
that this is raining on his parade of just like so much press and positive press. And yeah, we wanted to make sure we discuss this now. While we will touch on the other Sex in the City news this week, we wanted to make sure that it's not in light of the situation, and
Right.
that we will be talking about all the positive press or more comical press that
Yes.
is in the news. But we support Peloton of it all, not the Chris
Yeah.
Noth of it all. And if Nicole, if you want to
Exactly.
dive into that.
Yes. So I'm sure if you're listening to this and you're this deep in, then you're probably aware that Peloton released an ad. So essentially, he is killed. He dies from a heart attack after going on a Peloton bike in the episode while he has a cigar, and he goes on Peloton, and it's implied that he maybe isn't taking such good care of himself. He's not in the best health. He isn't making great decisions, and then he goes on the Peloton and he has a heart attack. And so awful press for Peloton. Their stock dropped. It was, I mean, it was horrible. The worst type of press that a company could have, pretty much. There are others, but and it's not great. So they pivoted. At first, they released a kind of generic statement, just whatever, not much, just like not much, very blah. And then they acted fast, and this is a topic of debate. We can decide if they actually acted fast or if this was planned and they knew what was going to happen. I don't think anyone really knows. Anyone I've talked to anyway. So they got there was a real Peloton instructor that played so her name is Jess, and she's a Peloton instructor in real life, and she played a Peloton instructor named Allegra, who it's implied that Mr. Big kind of has a digitally, virtually flirtatious relationship with. He's like kind of into his Peloton instructor, has the hots for her, and Carrie's a little threatened by that, but it's sort of all in good fun, or so we think. Maybe it's revealed that that's not the case in later episodes. But so he basically Peloton got Chris Noth, the Peloton instructor Jess, and none other than Ryan Reynolds to do the voiceover. They released an advertisement for Peloton with Chris and the Peloton instructor. They were just like, to new beginning, should we take another ride? It's risky, I don't know, let's do it. And then Ryan Reynolds has this deadpan, Deadpool has a deadpan line, and he's like, exercise is great for your health. It reduces this risk and that risk and that risk. Big is alive. Mr. Big is alive, whatever. And it's like a great delivery, very comedic, very Ryan Reynolds, and had to be really expensive to pull together so fast. I don't even know how contracts for these A-list, when I say A-list, really I mean Ryan Reynolds. I don't know that Chris Noth has been A-list he hasn't been A-list for a while, especially not anymore. Disrespectfully, he's not A-list, with or without this awful thing that is coming out about what he did. And so everyone was like, okay, good for Peloton. Like, that was the moves. Like, Soul Cycle before had made a joke. They were like, you should ride Soul Cycle instead. Da, da, da. And everyone's like, Peloton is screwed, man. And then they got it together. This was like 3 days after the episode aired. So it was unreal. And then this broke. And then the most recent development on this story is that Peloton pulled the ad after the allegations broke. And also since then, a lot of Chris he was on the cover of a magazine for their February issue, and a lot of creators, like journalists, Evan Ross Katz, he is someone that we love and we follow, and he kind of uses his Instagram as a sort of like journalistic mood board, and like kind of like if you go to his feed, it's sort of like the cover of a pop culture magazine would look like, and he's really great at that. And he posted the pictures yesterday, or this morning even, I think yesterday, of Chris Noth in this ad, the magazine cover. And then today he was like, I took it down, I don't support convicted rapists. And it's just like, I mean the turn of events that have happened, and that's happened in the
Insane.
speed in which these events have all occurred, and it's just like every time I check, there's a new development. So that's just crazy culture for you. And
Mhm.
I mean, now it's like Peloton really thought they had something. Maybe they just should have shut their mouths. Like their
Yeah.
stock plummeted. They spent, I presume, so much money on that ad, and then for what? So it's like I mean, it feels just like a lose situation. Like
Yeah.
lose for the victims who I like, our hearts go
Yeah.
out to, lose for Peloton, lose for Chris Noth, who we don't care, deserves a lose for Sarah Jessica Parker, lose for the Sex and the City peeps who have worked so hard on their reboot, like lose for society, lose for culture. Like who wins? It just sucks. Like lose for us because we were gonna little detail, we were gonna use a picture of Mr. Big and Carrie for our thumbnail today,
Yeah.
and we put in the effort, and then like screw you, Chris Noth, for making our jobs a little harder, inconveniencing us today. So we
Yes.
are we are even more people that he screwed over. And I put us
Yes.
dead last on that list of inconveniencing, but we are
Exactly.
on the list. We're on the list nonetheless. So rude.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think Peloton did not have that ad already ready, because if they were smart, the show drops at 3 a.m. Eastern time, 12 a.m. Pacific time, so like Thursday mornings for
Right.
everyone. And I think that they would, if they were smart, they would have released it right away. And just to go to another and just like that news, and again, we are not team spoiler alerts, but again, you go on any social media platform and any news article, and this is not a spoiler at this point. Like none of this is. So we will not be really talking about like yesterday's episode, because we don't need a spoil, because I don't think anything was really newsworthy. But the last thing that has been really discussed is after he got off the Peloton, he went to go shower. That's where he kind of collapsed. His phone, and for anyone on like video, I'm just talking with my hands, not like fully acting it out. So he fell, his phone fell by the water. Carrie comes home and sees him there, and he's alive. Like, I mean, he's not in great condition, but he's alive. His eyes are open. Carrie goes, and I think the weirdest part of this all is like the shower's an open shower, and she goes on the side of the water coming down instead of going on the dry side in like a really nice outfit, but whatever, for the drama. And she
And the
comes,
shoes,
the shoes,
her
the wedding
shoes.
shoes, the shoes she wore to her wedding, which in Carrie Bradshaw, I would not say that those are cheap shoes. And I couldn't believe that she went on the side of the water, but that's not the news we're really diving into here. That's just a personal thing that makes me cringe every time I see it. But she holds him in his arms with, side note, his phone right next to her, holds him in his arms like he's blinking, that she's kissing and crying, but she doesn't call 911. And I personally sat there and was like screaming at my TV, like, use the phone, call 911, like we could save him. And she doesn't do anything. And as it turns out, I'm not the only person who I thought it was like, breaking boundaries here. I'm not the only person that thought she should be calling 911. And it has been all over the place. There has been debates. People on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter have been getting their doctor friends to explain if she could have saved him and like calculate the time that he could have lived after a heart attack. And she could have saved him. And they spoke about this actually because there was so much news here. And one thing that Michael, who is the producer and creator of the show, who it's Michael Patrick King, and they wanted a Bonnie and Clyde moment. So they wanted to be able to look at each other as he fell away. So again, all for the drama. And they didn't feel that the character could die alone in the bathroom and that Carrie could come home to a dead body. They wanted the Bonnie and Clyde. He's injured. She looks down, holding him in his arms and just cries over him. And I don't think that they were successful in this approach, because it just left everyone thinking why she didn't just call 911 to save the love of her life. So I'm so curious what you think about this, Nicole.
Yeah, and it's also like, I mean, now it's kind of for the best because we're like, oh, maybe like it's messed
Bye.
up, but maybe like this there's subconscious part of her. Like, I mean, maybe it's the self-sabotager in her, maybe it's whatever it is. Um, like, I mean, come on. Like, I feel like it wasn't just a stylistic Bonnie and Clyde choice. Maybe like there was this deep-rooted part of Carrie that was sort of frozen and in a way she couldn't explain. And I mean, I don't know. And I don't even want to say it. Like, maybe she was like, maybe it's his time. I don't know. And now it's kind of like, now we're like, all right, like, maybe she made the right choice. Maybe she didn't call.
She's like, he could die. I want the attention. I want to be a
Yeah.
widow.
Yeah. And it's also like so they released the first 2 episodes last week and the third one this week, and Rebecca and I both watched it today. So if we keep doing this on Thursdays, it'll be the day of the And Just Like That installment drop. So we'll always be prepared with a very fresh new episode. But so it's like, I can't decide if I think it's a feminist hero choice or a very toxic, like, male, like, men just run everything choice. But it's like, now the entire series is in the backdrop of, in the context of his death. And so everything, all of Carrie's decisions, everything that she's operating with, and it's all about him. It's like reconciling what their relationship was. It's having to deal with her grief. It's having to go through his paperwork. It's just like, every
Yeah.
decision she makes now is about him, even though he's gone. And like, I don't know if that makes it about her anymore. That the Sex and the City's magic was always about these men were fleeting. Like, they
Yes.
always, like, every man
I need to
had
get back to there.
yeah, like, every man had some plot, like, like, they had some specific quirky personality trait that became a joke, and then it was also, like, the reason that it didn't work out, or it was some internal trait of one of the women that it ended up just not being compatible, whatever. But, like, on some weird level, this is the most centering of a man that Sex and the City has ever done. Like, Carrie was never operating that much based on Mr. Big. If anything, not enough. Like, they were both really selfish, and that's why they worked. So,
Yeah, exactly.
like, I just wonder. I couldn't help but wonder, her other catchphrase that was more iconic than "And Just Like That," but I guess "And Just Like That" is a better name
Makes
of
more
a TV
sense.
show.
Yeah.
It's better. But anyway, like, I couldn't help but wonder. Maybe, like, I don't know if I like this or not. We'll just have to see how they end up finishing the season and what they do with it.
Yeah. We'll give updates if there's any more newsworthy drama. We're not going to do like And Just Like That recap, but we will both be very well versed in the topics. And I just know with such a nostalgic show coming back and rebooting, hopefully there's a lot more to talk about that is not Chris Noth centric. So I don't want to talk about him anymore. Let's move on.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about another controversial man. Whatever. It's just, we're gonna have to just deal with it. So we're gonna talk about the Time Magazine Person of the Year. And that was Elon Musk this year. So, former SNL host from the spring. I feel like maybe it's just me and the circles I'm in and what my Twitter algorithm feeds me, but I feel like I saw more outrage about him hosting SNL than him being the Time Person of the Year. Obviously, one is a lot more significant than the other, so it's kind of like a little incongruent with what I thought people's priorities were, but I digress. I mean, I don't know how I feel about this. I think the reasoning, Time knew they had to kind of cover their butts, and they gave a pretty lengthy explanation. And it sounds like things that are true about Elon Musk is he's a disruptor. He's been changing and shaping and informing and dictating a lot about technology and society and what we believe to be possible for decades now. He hasn't been famous for that long, but well before he was famous, he was doing that. And he is an innovator. He's done a lot. He might be very controversial in the process of this innovation. He might be messing with a lot of people's lives and not treating them fairly. But I guess if you're talking about innovation, Time Magazine has always been pretty good, maybe the best news source in terms of non-biased approach. My news sources definitely skew more liberal, the ones that I prefer. But I do really see the value in news sources that are more in the middle, in the sense of, like, Time Magazine is talking, Forbes is like this too with their year-end lists of influential people. But it's more just we're talking about who was the most influential person this year. We're not saying who was our favorite. We're not saying who helped people the most. We're saying who impacted the world, who made significant change, and who really just did what we thought wasn't possible, or who really stood as a one of a kind, you know, and it's sometimes like that was Donald Trump, and it's not because he was a good person, it was because he was doing things that no one else was doing, and like I didn't like that. But I do like that there are a few news sources that are like, we're gonna give it kind of how it is, and we're gonna, it's not that we like this, it's just that it's more factual. So I do see the value in that. But I don't know, what do you think? And do you think there were any people that could have been a better fit for this role or for this
Yeah,
honor?
so I think I'm a little more outraged by this than you are. And you described it perfectly in terms of who is the most influential person. And I did even have less of an issue with it when it was Donald Trump because he influenced the world in a really shitty way. Sorry, crap. I don't know. Can we curse?
Whatever.
Whatever.
It happens.
And a really negative impact. And I don't even think Elon Musk in the year 2021, when you look back at everything, he didn't really even impact that much. And I have like some serious issues with him being this person because we give him such a platform. And for some reason, we can always make fun of him. But in terms of other quadrillionaires like Jeff Bezos, like we always kind of knock him down a step and kind of tell him where he is. But for some reason, maybe it's because he's like outrageous, which is definitely funny. If you scroll through his Twitter, it's like you would think it's a satire. And
Yeah.
we kind of put Elon Musk on this pedestal, and he is brilliant. Don't get me wrong, but he also doesn't, in my opinion, take the approach of like his innovations in a way that in turn better the world. And I think that I have some serious issues. And even a few years ago, if Elon Musk was the most influential person, I could have been like, yeah, that's true. But Tesla right now is just, I don't really think it's there. I mean, they could fly to space. Other people could fly to, like, I don't know. I really don't think he deserved this, especially in year two-ish, 1.5 of pandemic. I know you asked who I thought should have been. And I really think anyone that helped with the pandemic, helped people how to live through the pandemic, were strive through it. So my number one answer was like teachers. I mean, I think teachers, kids had to go back to school. Everyone had to go back to school. And whether it was against what they really think, and I might be biased because my sister's like going to be a teacher. I'm a student teaching all year. So I get a lot of that aspect of just schools and how teachers were not super, didn't have a choice. They had to go back. And they were one of those professions. I know frontline workers as well, but specifically this year, I think teachers who are not medical professionals, and they just had to, they expose themselves to this every day to help better the future of the country. And you look at that against someone who, I mean, he can lose half of his money and still be more well off than majority of the world. So I have a big problem with Elon Musk being the most influential person of the year, especially because I just don't think he was influential. Like Donald Trump was influential when he won. Was it positive?
Yeah.
No, but he was at least influential.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm not thrilled with this decision
Yeah.
either, but I'm just trying to, maybe I'm just trying to rationalize to myself because I want to believe in media. That goes into my Succession talk, which I'll get into again, but I want to believe that we're not all Roy family. We're not just run by the Roys and the Murdochs of the world, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
We
we
are.
are.
We
We
are.
are. We
We
are.
are. So I
Yeah,
do want to make sure
yeah,
that
I
I
just want
talk
to
about
say
the other
my just
mentions.
Yes,
Yeah.
I just wanna say quickly mine that I would have done. I guess this would have been posthumous, but I saw someone say Stephen Sondheim, the brilliant composer who died very recently, and it's not just in a, like, long term. I don't really think that he would have been it, but I just wanna give a second to talk about it because
Yeah.
he has been influential for so many decades, and this is about the specific year we're in, but he was influential because a lot of projects came out that he impacted. Tick Tick Boom on Netflix, directed by Lin-Manuel
Mhm.
Miranda. His real voicemail, his real voice was in it, and he was played by Bradley Whitford in it. He was a huge inspiration to the protagonist, Jonathan Larson, played by Andrew Garfield, who's the creator of Rent. Jonathan Larson, not Andrew Garfield, created Rent.
Yeah.
Should clarify. And also West Side Story, which we just came out. So I mean, I don't think he really was the most influential, but I just feel like we could bend the rules a little and be more creative with who we think of, and it's like, I don't know, maybe that's like a direction to go in.
Yeah, I mean, Broadway reopened, and a lot of people don't realize, like, especially in like the musical theater world, how impactful Broadway is. The same way that, like, I mean, I love Broadway. I know, Nicole, you're a big fan too, but we thrive off of television, pop culture, and like someone that influential to our space would really like, we would be happy to support that. And they brought so much joy. And even with Broadway being shut down, starting to go back into this movie musical like the West Side Story and In the Heights and Tick Tick Boom was a feasible way to ingest Broadway when it was shut down. So I do think Stephen Sondheim's an awesome person to even talk about. And Times did not only put all their eggs in Elon Musk, they did mention other people. And three of the top were the heroes of the year, which are the vaccine scientist, which, I mean, you know, we both love the vaccine. So, I mean,
Yeah, it's like right
I'm game
there,
for them.
vaccine scientist. It's like such an easy one to choose. Like you could have just
Exactly.
given it to them.
They don't have to
Whatever.
be the hero of the year. They could just be the people of the year. But
Yeah.
whatever, I'm happy that they definitely got the recognition because although COVID rates are back up, I think the world would be in a much worse off place without the vaccine. So they also had the athlete of the year, which is Simone Biles, which I think this is more meta in the aspect of showing that someone who did struggle, and we all saw it, and she struggled on like in her nightmare situation, which is a lot of pressure that led up to her not necessarily achieving what she intended to initially, but she was more of an inspiration to all of us. I mean, I was a gymnast dancer my whole life and I've always been really big fan. And I don't know. I think she's awesome. And to have such public health and mental health conversations, especially from someone who is so young, really relates to so many young people out there in a pandemic uh, with mental health. So I'm happy that she was rewarded and really for speaking her truth and for really opening up. So she was the athlete of the year and the entertainer of the year. I mean, we love her. Olivia Rodrigo. She blew up. She's incredible. She was a musical guest on SNL, and I don't know, she's killing it. So I think that's rightful. I can't think back to this year of someone who had a bigger year in entertainment than her. So I'm really satisfied with these other mentions, the Elon Musk, whatever. But I mean, if they wanted to get press out for the person of the year, they did their job. So
Yeah, definitely. We also, I mean, we know certain things. I don't want to say rigged. I think people overuse that term a lot, but these things are, if you're deciding between two people and one of them's gonna slip you $50 million to choose them. I mean, I don't know. It's the world we live in. It might have been hard not to
yeah.
take that path. So that's not going to say rigged. That's not quite the word I'm looking for, but I just think that money, our world is run by money and capitalism. So I think these things sometimes it can be the hero and the underdog, but also sometimes, especially in a pandemic where industries have been wrecked, like Time Magazine, maybe they needed money. So you know what I'm saying. Maybe there was
Yeah.
some stuff there. Yeah, just quickly on the other ones. I also with Simone Biles, also a big part of that was the Larry Nasser stuff, and she was one of the main women that stood up and spoke against him. He was the doctor that just like had a lot of he was just the worst, and just abused so many gymnasts over a while. And Simone Biles was one of those like extremely brave women that testified. And so I like that Time is also rewarding that. She did so much this year. She
Mhm.
she spoke out about mental health. She did that. So she's great. And then Olivia Rodrigo, of course, also like #1 song of the year. Her timing was really good. Like it
Yeah.
was January, the driver's license came out. So of course, when you look at Spotify Wrapped, like that's the #1 song of the year. So maybe if Spotify Wrapped grows more, maybe it's gonna be like the award cycle, how
Mhm.
in like December is when you have to drop the movies for Oscar season. If Spotify Wrapped really gets big enough, maybe it's going to be you have to release songs in January so that they have the most amount of time to accumulate listens. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll get big enough for that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm game for us to become like a Simone Biles stan podcast. So
Yeah.
I'm happy with the rest
I'm
of the
down.
choices. And that was our third story of the week. So I think this format is a cool way for us to dive deeper. And I know there are topics that each of us also wants to talk about in kind of a rapid fire. And in what I know Nicole is itching to talk about is a situation where I don't really care about it. So let's let Nicole monologue and talk about the Succession finale without
my
spoilers.
gosh. Yeah, I won't spoil anything specific. And it's kind of the way Succession is anyways. Like the plot and what really happens is so irrelevant. It's just all about power dynamics. And even that's a spoiler, so I won't say exactly who ended up at the top of the power rankings. But I've been itching to talk about Succession. It's just all I've been thinking about this week. The season 3 finale was on Sunday. It took the world by storm. I feel like so many like really big like politicians are talking about how much they loved it. Kara Swisher, she hosts the Succession official podcast, and she's like the top journalist in Silicon Valley, and speaking of tech and all that. So like for someone like that to host a TV show recap podcast like speaks volumes to me. It's like this show is hardcore, but then also where I find myself on Twitter is the opposite. It's with like 17-year-olds making fan cams about couples that are not canonically in the show. That's more like my Succession. But then I also have the intelligent Kara Swisher stuff too that I enjoy. So yeah, I'm not going to give spoilers. I really more just wanted to bring up as my little rapid fire minute. We'll call it that. That's just my biggest headline. If we're talking personal pop culture headlines of the week, that's mine. I am obsessed with Tom and Greg. Tom Wamsgams and Cousin Greg. If you probably know, even if you don't watch Succession, you know Cousin Greg. He's a pop culture phenomenon. Nicholas Braun, who cameoed on SNL, that was amazing. I'm obsessed with Tom and Greg. I won't give spoilers. I'm not going to say anything, but I love them. I would do anything for them. And I haven't been this obsessed with a duo in a TV show since Chuck and Blair. And if you know me, you know that's a massive deal. It's insane. So I ordered myself Tom merch on Etsy. I got a Team Tom t-shirt that is in the style of Twilight. It's like a parody of a Twilight poster, basically. I can't wait for it to arrive. I got a Waystar Royco black a hat, baseball cap. And I can't wait to rock it. And if you also watch Succession, like DM me and I want to know your takes on here's what I'll say without spoiling too much. Are Tom and Greg canon? That's my question. So if you watch Succession, reach out to me and I want to hear your take. My other micro headline, I'll just say Survivor finale last night. And also Survivor's one of my favorites. And it wasn't the winner I wanted, but I think it was not. It was I'm satisfied. I'll put it that way. So two shows that are two of my favorite shows of all time. And both had finales this week. So I'm a little bit little sad about that, but I'm very all consumed nonetheless by my thoughts about both.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who is on the 4th episode of Succession, and if you tuned in last week, you would hear me say that I was on the fourth episode of Succession. It is, I'm gonna keep watching it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Tom's a creep, and hopefully his character development changes. But from episode 4, he is so horrible to watch. But I will watch it. I promise. And I promise that to you, Nicole. I have not even every time I see Nicole tweet, I just scroll past it because I don't want to spoil it for myself because I know I'm going to be watching it. But yeah, I mean,
tweets of 17-year-old fan cams is all I do. I love 17-year-olds making fan cams are everything. They're, as people are saying, the backbone of society. That's 100% true. Kara Swisher is having an impact on Succession. It's really you guys, 17-year-olds making fan cams. Like, I'm indebted to you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I promise I'll watch that because my TV finale tonight ends, and that's Canada's Drag Race because there's no US content right now. So I'm on the Canada's Drag Race finale, which just aired 3 minutes ago. And if I watch Succession, Nicole, can you watch season 14 of RuPaul's Drag Race? I'll give you my Paramount Plus login.
Yeah.
So cool.
I have
that just makes me happy.
On Paramount Plus.
Oh, cool. We could save some money and combine this.
Yeah.
Whatever. We'll discuss that after. But so that's coming up. I won't talk about it on here because I know no one's interested. But if you do love Drag Race.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I think you could persuade some people to get into it.
If you want any Drag Race, I mean, season 14 airs January 7th. It's on Paramount Plus. or they will be premiering at any gay bar near you. That I will be there on Thursday night at Queer Bar in Seattle. If anyone's in this area, come with me.
I thought you
But
were
that's
just gonna
not.
say if there's any gay bar anywhere near you, you will be there. Like in any state,
I
any country,
wish
Rebecca
that'd
will
be
be there.
so
Just
nice. I'll
she'll
make a
be there.
cameo. But
Yeah,
I do
she'll
want to talk
teleport.
about in my rapid fire segment is the Golden Globes, which I mean, no one, those are of all the award shows, like probably like the most boring. But there is some hot news going on right now with them, and that Snoop Dogg just helped announce the 2022 Golden Globe nominations. Ask me who was nominated. I can't answer that question. But they will not be televised on NBC this year because there was a discovery that there were no Black members of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. I have that written down as HFPA. So that is wild. And I mean, good for NBC. I mean, definitely Golden Globes viewership is definitely really important to them as a network. Take a shot every time I say definitely. But it's really important to them as a network. And the fact that they are standing behind the lack of diversity on the people making the decisions, which in turn, the outcome of the nominations and the wins are super biased and white. And that is just not how society is. Like, not giving everyone a fair chance to speak, like, that's so messed up. So I'm really proud of NBC, and I don't know if they'll discuss this. I know they might because of NBC, but NBC is not airing the Golden Globes. I'm curious if another network will pick it up, but I think that's super problematic if they do without the HFPA changing their ways. So just something to talk about. I can't even tell you who was nominated, but I think them having Snoop Dogg announce it also maybe in their mind was like, oh, cool, we'll finally have diversity. And good for NBC for taking a stance and losing that pretty enormous viewership just to be an ally and to say that this is not right. So let's change that.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think maybe Colin Jost will continue the like meta NBC slander or maybe anti slander. Maybe it'll be positive now, but just what he did last week, maybe there'll be some more of that. And I've been really more into this, like thinking about the different networks and their relationships with each other, and
Yes.
I've been so into that lately, and like different people that are associated with different ones. Like Miley Cyrus is like an NBC girl, and like having a good relationship with SNL, being like a Fallon regular,
Mm-hmm.
having her NBC special New Year's Eve. And then there are like the NBC peeps, like JoJo Siwa is like ride or die ABC. Like it's really interesting, and I feel like especially now that streaming services are taking over, maybe these wars or whatever that we're seeing more of, like NBC this, ABC that. Maybe it's like, I don't know why now we're seeing it more. Maybe I'm just older and I'm paying more attention to it, but I think there is also like they have to be kind of doing different things now for different reasons. Like so it's really interesting, and I'm curious how it's gonna evolve now that
Mm-hmm.
we're just streaming services are taking over. Of course, like NBC is affiliated with the streaming service Peacock, so that's one way to take it.
ABC has a partnership with Hulu that all
Right.
just about, I mean, any ABC show I've seen has next day streaming on Hulu and they plug that on the
Yeah.
TV show. So,
Yeah.
and are they Disney? Who's Disney affiliated? One of them
I
is.
don't know.
Whatever. We're
Yeah,
not
they're all
speaking
like, it's
facts.
hard to say. Yeah, we're a little all over. Do you have anything else on that, or on your minute, your rapid fire?
No, I mean, the other thing to obviously just bring mention to is SNL is this Saturday. Disney is ABC. Thanks, John. Okay, cool. So I
Yeah.
was pretty right there. But
Yeah, there you
yeah,
go.
SNL episode this week is Paul Rudd hosting for his fifth time and Charli XCX as the musical guest. And I know how much Bowen Yang loves her. So I'm hoping they could incorporate her into. I've seen her personally. I've watched interviews. I'm a decently big fan. But I'm curious if they could bring her into anything, especially with Bowen. I know him and Taylor Swift were supposed to do kind of a segment on Update or something, but that got cut. So I think having Charli XCX would be a great opportunity, and I'm really excited to tune in there. And I know Nicole's going to mention all things SNL Network as she wraps up this episode. So just looking forward to that.
Yes, I'm excited too. I'm hoping we're gonna get something like what Bowen and Dua Lipa did last year for the Kristen Wiig
Yes.
December show. I feel like we could see that. I also
Mhm.
think I'm not totally confident just because it'll be her first appearance on the show, I believe. So usually with that, it's just the likelihood of a sketch appearance decreases a bit. But I don't know. I'd love to see something. And if not, I'm still going to be just excited for Bowen because he's such a big fan, and I think it's going to be great. I think we're going to see lots of cameos, Christmas episode, Paul Rudd. What
Mhm.
I want is some sort of genius blend fusion of the Vogelcheck kissing family with Succession with Tom and Greg. Like I really think Paul Rudd would make a good Tom Wamsgams, and I think that Pete Davidson has to be cousin Greg. Like they're as pop culture phenomenons. Like he has to play him. Like it has to happen, that sort of crossover. Um, so I feel like there's room for that, like a kissing family, Tom, Greg, Succession, something overlap. Although with Omicron, I feel like SNL for so many weeks now has been very like the two signs for SNL that like COVID is not so bad are it's one, cameos, and two, kissing. And for a lot of
Yeah.
weeks we had a lot of both. And so now with Omicron particularly being so all over in New York City, I don't know that we're going to actually have as many cameos and
Mhm.
kissing as we would have thought. And I mean, eh, we're going to see about that. I'm really curious to break it all down, and I'm really excited because I will be on the next Hot Take show. So I'll pivot into talking about what's next for SNL Network. So we're
Yeah.
going to be um we have on as always we have our Hot Take show airing at 1:10 a.m. Eastern right after SNL. So if you're watching it live and you want to go talk about it in the chat, it's a panel. John will be back in the hosting seat and I will be there, and we have a lot of other really great panelists, and it'll be fun. So definitely join us there. And then we also are going to have our roundtable the following week, or the coming Monday, patron feedback show. We have a really cool super fan takeover that I think I will be a part of that too. So stay tuned for that. We're definitely going to have a lot of really fun SNL coverage in the hiatus holiday season while we wait for our January bunch of episodes to drop. So stay tuned, stick around. We're gonna get into it on the pod as always, everything. So this was great. This was so much
Yeah.
fun. Yes. All
Definitely.
right.
And tune in for the next Hollywood Dish. That will be the Thursday before the next episode. And if you or John in the comments right now could tell us when that next episode will be, that would be awesome. In the meantime, we will be on a hiatus as SNL will be after this week. So if you want to stay in touch with me, I'm at Barbecue on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm like thirsty for followers right now. So like give me that Instagram and Twitter following if you want. And you will hear my voice again at the next Hollywood Dish. And this has been awesome. Nicole, where can people find you?
Yes. Yeah, this has been so much fun. You can find me. I'm also kind of thirsty right now for followers. So just like pour one out,
We're always
throw us
going to
a
be
follow.
thirsty for followers. So
Yeah, it's
just
just like maybe
please,
it's like the holiday season. Like we want everyone to be giving, I guess. Like,
we're
give,
desperate. We're
give,
desperate. This
give.
is
Come
nice.
on.
You're going to make us happy just by following.
Yeah. And like we're Jewish and like Hanukkah's over, so we're gonna be like a
Yeah,
little emo about Christmas because like we already like
exactly.
had our moment. So like come on, like give us something. I'm kidding. It's totally whatever. Am I kidding? No. But yeah, so at Nicole Rovine is Instagram, Twitter, except my Twitter right now is just like a succession like dump. Like I can't get, but
It's not
that'll
usually, though. I can
yeah,
attest to that.
it won't be like that for much longer. Give me like 1 or 2 more days, and then I'll get over it and be on to my next fixation in pop culture. And then yeah, so Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and then as always, you can follow us at the SNL Network on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, also same three. And then we're doing a lot of fun stuff. Also during the break, we're gonna keep on grooving, and we have a lot of really fun stuff planned on socials. So stick around for that. Give us the follow, and then on wherever you're listening or watching right now, make sure you click subscribe. It really helps other people find the show, and we really appreciate that. You can leave us a review wherever you want to do that, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you are. Leave us a comment, give us some feedback. I think we both take constructive feedback. I'm using the word, but I
Yes.
think we take it well. Um, So let us know how with whatever, like we're always open to hearing, and then also just like we'd love to chat with everyone. So yeah, just like hit us up in the DMs.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. So
Yeah, we need like a tagline at the end. So that'll be our homework for over this holiday to like
yes, we have
think of
homework. We're
something
both
to
like
end.
total nerds. We need home. We miss school, even though we don't need to be at our
Literally.
alma mater right now. But
But
we are nerds for
we
school.
need something. So until we have a goodbye tagline, I'm just gonna say bye.
Goodbye, guys.